Hello and welcome, fantasy lovers and book readers. My name is Dylan, the spaced out reader, the spaced out wizard. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Today, we're looking at my TBR. Now, last month and every other month before that, I've set a TBR and I very rarely stick to it, but last month was horrendous. Usually I get to like 5 or 6 of the books I say I'll read. Last month I got to like 3 or 4. I had a few series that just took over my TBR and I just didn't get to what I planned to. But looking at my reading plans for the latter half of the year, I've got some serious goals. I've got some series that I want to finish off, and I've got some series that I want to get to. So we're going to be a lot more strict with the TBR and things are going to be a lot more regimented. So this month I've got 5 books that I'm definitely going to be reading, then 3 books that I'm going to need you guys to help me choose down the comments. And I think for the most part, I'll stick with that. I might chuck a non-fic book in there as well, but we'll see how we go. But before we go any further, if you want to see what took over my TBR in July, what series I just got completely obsessed with, make sure you subscribe down below so you can see my monthly wrap up in a couple of days. And while you're down there, leave a comment, let me know what you're reading in August too. So with that out the way, the first book I'm reading in August is going to be Kings of the Wyld by Nicholas Eames. This is book 1 of the Band trilogy and there's currently 2 out at the moment, but these books also stand by themselves. This is our Fable book club read, so if you want to read this one with me, check out the link down in the description. Fable is like a book social media app. It's completely free. I'm not even sponsored by it. I just love using it. Join the book club with us. Read this one with us in August. Kings of the Wyld is a group of older mercenaries getting the band back together for one last mission to save the daughter of one of the members. There's lots of 70s rock references, so the band is like kind of referenced as like a musical band. You get 70s rock and roll references all through the book, but that doesn't mean you have to know about 70s rock to enjoy the book. Just if you know about that, you'll get the extra references. If not, you'll still have a ton of fun. A lot of the world building is inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, so here there's like owlbears and that sort of stuff in here. So I'm super excited to get into this series. I've heard so many great things. I hear it's just a really fun book that you can fly through really quickly. I'm so excited to jump into it. Now, last month, one of the last books that I actually read and stuck to my TBR on was The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie, the last book in the First Law trilogy, and I absolutely loved it. I did a full series review. You can check that out. But it definitely left me wanting more. I really want to return to the First Law world and get more of the world, more of the writing, more of the characters. With that, I'm jumping into the 3 standalones that come after the first series, and that's best served cold. Now, I've already started this one a little bit before I had another series take over my whole life, and it was a really strong start. This is a revenge story that takes place in a country we didn't really get to spend any time in the First Law trilogy, so we're seeing more of the world, we're getting new characters, some old ones, and just a woman getting her revenge. I'm super excited to dive into this. I've heard so many people call this their favorite First Law book, so I've got nothing but high expectations. Then next, because I just love to have a overflowing TBR and love to just constantly be starting new series rather than continuing on the series I'm already reading, I'm going to be reading The Children of Gods and Fighting Men by Shauna Lawless, book 1 of the Gale Song saga. This is a trilogy and the last book's coming out later this year. I kind of want to be on it close to release date, so I'm going to be jumping into this in August. This is a historical fantasy set in 1891 Ireland, and I don't know too much else outside of that. I saw Shauna do a podcast with Mike's Book Reviews. She seemed awesome. I love Viking stories. I really want to start reading more historical fiction, so this will push me in that direction. This is historical fantasy. And come on, just look at that cover. Don't you want to dive into that book and that series? I've heard so many good things from good friends, and I'm super excited to check it out. Then next, one book I started reading this month, but put down because I just got blown away by another series, was book 3 of Dungeon Crawler Carl, the Dungeon Anarchists Cookbook. And yeah, you guys have seen me rate this before. This is a little RPG adventure, a guy from Seattle who went outside to get his girlfriend's cat, and just every person that was inside in the world got absolutely smushed. Everyone that was outside got transported down into dungeons, and they've basically been put into an alien game show, which kind of plays like a real life video game. Carl is in these dungeons with his cat, who gets the ability to speak. So you get a fun, relatable character from our modern society in a video game with a funny, witty cat. It's just a great time. And this is just a really fun read that's opened my eyes to a whole new genre of books that I will be exploring more. And I'll definitely be finishing this one off in the month of August. After that, I'll be keeping with the theme of finishing off series I've already started. So one of the other books I actually stayed on plan with in July was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, book 1 of Farseer, book 1 of Realm of the Elderlings, and I had an absolute blast. This reminded me of Ranger's Apprentice, and it was just really fun, classic fantasy, young male POV, coming of age story. I loved it. So obviously I'll go into book 2 of the series, Royal Assassin, or Assassin's Quest. No, I think it's Royal Assassin. I think that's book 2, and Assassin's Quest is book 3. Either or, I'll be jumping into book 2 of this trilogy, and I expect to have a great time here. Then the last set book that I really want to get to is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper, book 1 of the Wolf Den trilogy. This one is a historical fiction set in Pompeii following a slave girl. I don't know too much outside of that, but everyone I know that reads historical fiction raves about this trilogy. I want to get into historical fiction, so I couldn't think of a better place to start. William Gwynn just says the characters in this are unmatched, and so far we have like really similar tastes, so I'm very excited to get into it and actually read some historical fiction for the first time. Now we're at the part of the video where I'm going to need your help. So the next book I'm going to have to read is I'm going to have to continue one of the big massive series I'm in. So at the moment I'm 2 books into Malazan Book of the Fallen. I've read Gardens of the Moon and Dead House Gates. I've got the audiobook and ebook for Memories of Ice sitting ready to go, so I can go into Memories of Ice, which I'm excited to do, but every time I've tried Memories of Ice, haven't got far enough into it to get into it. So that's option 1. And then option 2 is The Ships of Merior, the second book in the Wars of Lights and Shadow by Janny Wirtz. And I'm really excited. Book 1 felt very interesting. It set up the world, it set up the plot. It felt very prologue-y, but super intriguing. Janny's writing style is so good. It's very similar to Stephen Erickson, but the way she structures her chapters in these books are incredible. So we get like one main story at the beginning of the chapter. They're very long chapters. It was like an 800-page book, and you had like 18 chapters or something like that. It might have been 24, but it was a low amount of chapters, high amount of pages. So we get a little story for the whole chapter. And then we got about 3 paragraphs of someone else's shorter story. And then we got 3 sentences of 3 different stories. So we got one big chunk of one of our main character storylines. Then we got a little side story from one of our other characters somewhere else in the world. And we got 3 shorter stories of something else going on in the world. It just made this world feel so alive, and I was entrenched in this story. And this one I only have the ebook of because there is no audiobook for The Ships of Merior. But I'm more inclined to read this than I am Malazan. But I'm also very excited to get back to Malazan because I want to get back into it. I've been reading a lot of dark fantasy recently, so I'm very much in that mood at the moment. But yeah, this is where I need you guys to help me decide. I know Malazan's much more popular, so I'll probably get more Malazan comments, but I'm really tempted to jump back into the Wars of Light and Shadow. Then the next thing I need you guys to help me pick is my next progression fantasy read, my next lit RPG read. I really like Dungeon Crawler Carl, but I want to expand what I know in the genre before I just finish off the rest of Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I either want to go to He Who Fights with Monsters, where it's written by an Australian, or an Australian is put into a different world and they get a bunch of abilities, that same sort of video game sort of thing. So that's option 1. And then option 2 is The Wandering Inn, which I've just heard so many great things about. I don't know too much about it, and I really want to get into both of these, but I probably only have time for one, so please let me know which one of those I should pick. Then option 3 is helping me pick what book outside of the historical fiction fantasy space I want to read. So the options are The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which is the only book of the 3 I have in physical, so this one is definitely talking to me more, along with Misery or Pet Semetary by Stephen King. These are just 3 books that are shorter that I really want to get into, and I think I'll be able to squeeze into this month. So let me know which one of those 3 I should read. And with that, that is my August TBR, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you're reading this month, what I should read in future months. Have a great day.